Let's go Dolphins! What if I told you that everything you thought was settled in Miami isn't? That behind the scenes, powerful figures are questioning whether the man leading this team is really the right one to bring the Lombardi Trophy to South Beach? The truth is, the Dolphins are on the verge of a franchise-defining decision, and what's happening now, today, could change everything we know about this team's future. But before I reveal the full story, if you're a true Dolphins fan, do your part, like this post and show your pride in the comments. If you followed this team through it all, write out loud and proudly, "Go Dolphins! We can make it to the Super Bowl." Let's flood the comments with that energy, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just another preseason rumor. It's about power, direction, and whether the Miami Dolphins are truly committed to becoming champions, or if they're just pretending. Well, let's go. Now, let's get right into it. Black Monday has arrived in the NFL. It's the day when coaching chairs across the league get pulled out from under guys who didn't deliver, and all eyes in Miami are focused on one man, Mike Mcdaniel. As of now, there's no official decision, not yet. But insiders like Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, and Tom Pelissero have all weighed in, and there's a swirl of intrigue swirling around McDaniel's fate. Schefter reported just before the Dolphins faced New England in the final game of the season that the feeling inside ownership circles is that the Dolphins would prefer to keep Mcdaniel. But preference doesn't guarantee safety, it only buys time. And that time is running out fast. Stephen Ross, the team owner, reportedly has a strong relationship with McDaniel. That extension the team gave him before the 2024 season? It wasn't just a vote of confidence, it was a commitment. But commitments in the NFL mean nothing if the wins don't come. Let's be real. Ross might value brand perception, ticket sales, and a competitive culture, but does he truly care about building the best team in the league? That's where fans are divided. Some believe Ross is chasing long-term stability, others think he's satisfied with just being in the conversation, not dominating it. And here's where it gets interesting. Despite no decision being made yet, McDaniel is scheduled to speak to the media today. That's a move typically reserved for a head coach who's expected to return. But don't read too far into that. The truth is that the Dolphins are putting all focus on the general manager search first, and only then will McDaniel's future be decided. That's the real sequence. Hire a new GM, then evaluate the head coach. That leads us to the next layer of this developing story, the GM search itself. Chris Greer is out, and the Dolphins are the only team in the league right now with a vacant GM position. That puts them in a unique and powerful position to pick their ideal candidate without competition. The committee handling the GM hiring process includes Stephen Ross, Danny Silman, Tom Garfinkel, Brendan Shore, consultant Troy Aikman, and Dolphins legend Dan Marino. Reports suggest they are targeting someone with a strong scouting background, and insiders say Miami has already been vetting candidates for over a month. They want this wrapped up fast. Within 2 weeks, the decision could be finalized. So who's in the mix? Top contenders being seriously discussed include Josh Williams, 49ers, John Eric Sullivan, Packers, and John McKay, Rams. All three come from organizations known for elite talent evaluation. Sullivan has over 2 decades in Green Bay. Williams has a decade in San Francisco. McKay may be young, but he's got a sharp eye and a proven track record in one of the league's most innovative front offices. These are not just names being tossed around. Based on everything coming out of the building, these three are at the top of the shortlist. Now let's circle back to McDaniel. The debate isn't just about his likability or offensive creativity, it's about results. The stats paint a concerning picture, a 12-22 road record, 4-7 against teams with winning records, and consistently poor third quarter and second half performances. The Dolphins were once again shut out in the third quarter against New England and were outgained by more than 100 yards. This has become a trend, a dangerous, consistent one. So even though the coaching candidate pool isn't exactly star-studded this cycle, fans and insiders are asking the tough question. Is it worth hanging on to McDaniel for a gap year in 2026? Or is it smarter to make a calculated risk and find someone who can take this team to the next level? Names floating around as potential replacements include Vance Joseph, Mike Tomlin, and John Harbaugh. Joseph, currently with Denver, has been connected to Miami before and is viewed as a top-tier defensive mind. If hired, he would likely bring in his own offensive coordinator to take full control of that side of the ball, while he focused on defense. And here's the kicker, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano have both floated his name as a legit option. Then you have the wild cards. If Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh become available, and that's not impossible, Stephen Ross might just go all in. Harbaugh, in particular, is someone Ross reportedly sees as a clear upgrade over McDaniel, despite recent disappointments in Baltimore. Because here's the thing, while we can debate stats and trends all day long, the question of McDaniel's future is ultimately going to come down to one major factor, alignment. Alignment between the head coach and the new general manager. And that's where things get tricky. Because even though Stephen Ross might like Mike McDaniel personally, and even though there's been public support in the past, a new GM is unlikely to want to inherit someone else's vision. especially if that vision has failed to produce results in the postseason. So what happens if Miami brings in a GM with a strong scouting pedigree, someone like Josh Williams, John Eric Sullivan, or John McKay, and they evaluate this roster, the coaching, the locker room dynamics, and conclude that the Dolphins need a fresh start? That's a scenario that feels increasingly plausible. And when you consider how quickly things can change in the NFL, don't be surprised if McDaniel goes from leaning safe to being out the door in a matter of days once that GM chair is filled. But let's not ignore the flip side either. McDaniel does have a top 10 offense. His rapport with Tua Tagovailoa is evident, and his system has elevated skill players like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. He brings creativity, energy, and a culture that players seem to enjoy. And for an owner like Ross, who values image and branding almost as much as wins, that can't be dismissed. Yet even with those strengths, McDaniel's flaws have shown themselves too many times in the most critical moments. And the irony here? The Dolphins aren't trying to climb from the bottom. They're already in the mix. They're a playoff team. They have talent. What they don't have is that final gear, that next level identity that pushes good teams to become great. That's what's missing, and that's what Stephen Ross has to decide. Is Mike McDaniel capable of finding that gear in 2026? Now, going back to the head coaching options, there's no unicorn candidate in this cycle. There's no slam dunk offensive genius or defensive mastermind that's guaranteed to make an immediate impact. The most buzzed about names like Jesse Minter, Chargers DC, Chris Shula, and Clint Kubiak are solid, but they're not guaranteed upgrades. Most of the names being floated are defensive-minded coaches, and that might actually appeal to Miami. Why? Because this team already has offensive talent. What it lacks is a defense that can consistently win critical games. That's where someone like Vance Joseph could come in. He knows the organization, he's respected around the league, and he's proven he can build a top-tier defense. But again, he'd need the right offensive coordinator, someone who can maximize Tua, if Tua remains the QB, and keep this explosive unit firing. Because let's not forget, if you make a move at head coach, you risk disrupting the chemistry and rhythm of a team that has consistently put up points under McDaniel. And then there's the looming, almost fantasy scenario possibility, John Harbaugh. If he parts ways with Baltimore, and that's still a big if, Miami would almost certainly make a run at him. Ross has long admired Harbaugh, and unlike McDaniel, Harbaugh has a proven track record in big games, playoff wins, a Super Bowl appearance. That's a guy you make room for, even if it means ruffling feathers in your current setup. And what about Mike Tomlin? If his time with the Steelers ends, which is far from certain, he might step away from coaching altogether. But if he doesn't, and he's available, he's another proven winner who brings discipline, culture, and playoff experience, all things the Dolphins could benefit from. But none of these hypotheticals matter without the GM decision. That's the domino that has to fall first. And that's what makes the next 2 weeks so critical. The Dolphins aren't rebuilding, they're retooling. And the GM hire will tell us everything about where this franchise is heading. If they go with a young, modern, scout-driven executive like Josh Williams or John McKay, it suggests a vision for long-term roster building and a potential new coach to match. If they promote someone from within or choose a safer, less disruptive option, maybe McDaniel gets one more season to prove he can finish what he started. But let's be honest, the margin for error is gone. Whether McDaniel stays or not, 2026 is shaping up to be a make-or-break year for this franchise. The fans know it. The players know it. The owner knows it. There's no more hiding behind we're building. The Dolphins have built. Now they have to win. So tell me, are you ready for a bold new era? Or should the Dolphins give McDaniel one final shot at redemption? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out the videos on screen right now for even more Dolphins content. We've got a wild offseason ahead. Stay locked in, because this is just the beginning.